Hey everyone, we're looking at Donny of Daytona again today. It's called Gods Under Fire, so I guess Donny's a polytheist. I wonder what or who this video could be about. Who knows? Why am I getting turned on right now? Down, boy! Oh, God is under fire. Forget that polytheist comment then. I guess Donny's just not great with punctuation.
Hey guys, welcome to Donny Daytona, and I got a pretty cool video for you.
Cool is a strong word, but okay.
First off, let me start off by saying if this is your first video of mine you're watching and you're new just because of the title, you wanted to see what was going on, you might want to skip past this video log.
Just click the hyperlink in the sidebar to surf to a new internet web file. But don't forget to sign my guest book.
Because I do a little updates, and that's what my channel is. It's a video log. But I show things I film in the sky because I'm hoping that there is evidence of God's great creation that is right in front of us, so we can help turn some people back to the good and away from the hands of Satan and atheism and whatever else.
And do you think hoping and looking for evidence just to support your predetermined conclusion is the most likely path to the truth? What if the truth turns out not to be whatever you already decided it has to be? What you just said conspicuously lacked a message about how you want to find evidence of the actual truth, whatever that may be. It sounds like you don't really care about finding the truth, you care about finding anything that can help preserve your worldview. And well, if you're selective and uncritical enough, you can find something to make you feel like anything you believe is justified. That's obvious enough just from the stuff I've responded to of yours. And that's why it's a bad idea to look for evidence explicitly for the purpose of justifying your assumptions rather than following the evidence wherever it leads you. But if your precious little beliefs are more important to you than the actual truth, well, it's kind of sad and it becomes kind of a problem when you start trying to deceive others the way you've deceived yourself, but whatever.
But anyway, I have to tell you guys, I've been really good about not complaining anymore. Censorship is censorship. We knew this was going to happen.
Oh my gosh, censorship? That's awful, Donny. I'm so sorry. I would never want you censored. You're one of my new favorite people to reply to. It'd be a terrible loss for me.
But I'm actually being a target of a really big debunking channel right now.
Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious me. What did this awful person do, Donny? How did they target you? Show me where he touched you. Did they do something incredibly disgusting, like tell their audience to report you to YouTube just for speaking your mind?
And the channel, just his newest video, he puts out a video every 4 weeks or so.
Sounds like a lazy ass. Very consistent with the low character of a censor. Shame on him.
His newest video is part 1 on me, and it's called... Can you see it there?
Wait a minute, that's me! But I'm not, I wouldn't, wait, do I really put out a video every 4 weeks? I mean, I guess that response to you slowed me down a little, but usually it's faster than that. That is defamation, sir! I demand restitution! Restitution! Specifically in the form of you making more videos. And I see you've already done that, so I'll let the matter go this time. But you be careful, mister. Keep making those videos.
The name of the channel is Logicked. Logicked.
Ah, you remembered the K. Better than some people. Very impressive so far, Donny.
He has 117,000 subscribers and wears a mask.
Yeah, that's the key to success on YouTube. Nobody wants to see your flapping lipples. Mask that shit up.
And has 7 different outlets for people to pour money into him. 7 different outlets.
That is absolutely false. Even more defamation. How dare you? There's 9 different outlets.
When you guys offer to donate, I tell you not to, because I don't want you to send me your hard-earned money.
I see. So is that why the only thing in each of your video descriptions is a PayPal link? Does that actually work? Let me try. Hey everyone, please don't send me any money, please. Every time somebody gives me money, it wounds me deeply. If I get so many donations over the next week that I can buy a new house with it, I think I'll literally die. Don't do it, I beg you.
I work a regular job. This is someone that makes his living off of YouTube.
Don't worry, you'll get there soon by the looks of it. You already get almost as many views in a month as I do. Actually, in previous months, you got more than I did.
And he bashes smaller channels.
Well, that's not fair, Donny. I'll reply apply to pretty much anyone if they're acting like fools in a way I find amusing. Within the past year, I've responded to Trey Smith, There Is No Clash, Emmanuel Matos, Swami Mukundananda, and of course Kent Hovind, all of whom have more subscribers than I do. I just don't restrict myself from also replying to smaller channels. But when said smaller channel has almost 20,000 subscribers and is getting 200,000 plus views a month, it's a little bit hard to take seriously. Don't pretend you're some poor helpless little guy being oppressed by a YouTube juggernaut. You're publishing your arguments to a very large set of people, and then you're whining that the responses to those arguments are getting a similar viewership. If you're not cool with that, maybe this just isn't for you.
And he bashes smaller channels for doing God's work.
Oh no, you misunderstand. I correct channels when they present weak-ass reasoning. It's nothing to do with them doing God's work, unless God's work is a euphemism for spreading complete bullshit. It is.
He's admittedly an atheist.
Damn! All that work to hide that and I slipped up and admitted it. Ugh! Me and my stupid big non-existent mouth.
Now when I tell you guys what I do with my telescope findings, I explained to you before about focal points. He's trying to say I know nothing about photography and goes through a whole 57-minute video about disrespecting me from front to back.
It's 52 and a half. And you don't know nothing. You know how to turn on the camera.
57-minute video about disrespecting me from front to back.
Respect is earned, Donnie. If you don't want to be treated like a moron, stop acting like one.
And he takes bits and pieces of different videos to satisfy his argument.
No, I took bits and pieces of different videos to figure out what the hell you were even doing and what you were doing it with, because you couldn't be bothered to state it correctly. But the argument I constructed by the end was pretty satisfying, so whatever, I'm happy. Even if it did take frickin' forever.
He takes one of my videos where I show just a small section of Jupiter, but the rest of it is the most insane clear moon video. But he didn't show any of that.
Yeah, and why do you think that might be, Donnie? Could it have anything to do with this thing you pointed out yourself just 1 minute ago?
His newest video is part 1 on me.
What do you think that term part 1 means, Donnie? Part 2's up by now. If you're so desperate to see my breakdown of your laughable moon arguments, you're welcome to go check that out, and do me a favor, tell your fans to swing by again. Always appreciate the engagement.
He just takes bits and pieces to fill his narrative, and his narrative is to prove how stupid we are to think we're seeing firmament and the waters above.
Not at all. If you had solid evidence for the firmament, you wouldn't be stupid at all if you thought that's what you were seeing. It's never what you think that proves you're stupid, it's why you think it. And being a complete derp with your equipment is not the sort of why that would lead me to think you're smart. But here's something very important for you to understand about my opinion here. Stupidity is not a permanent condition, it's a way of thinking that you've learned, or at least not learned to avoid. When I call someone stupid, it means I think they're exhibiting certain kinds of failures of thought. A failure to identify and ask the relevant questions and notice incomplete or irrelevant answers to them, a failure to recognize patterns while excluding false positives, a failure to adequately generalize principles without overgeneralizing, a failure to correctly distinguish between distinct, even subtly distinct concepts, and conversely, a failure to recognize when seemingly distinct concepts are actually identical in the relevant features. Things like that. All sorts of things might promote these failures of thought, religious indoctrination being just one of them, although a very widespread and effective one. But I'm not convinced that the basic cognitive ability needed to succeed at these critical thinking tasks is a built-in feature of some people and not others, excluding people with genuine cognitive impairment, of course. The problems I've listed don't take a rare genius to avoid. Just exercising a little care is enough. Every single one of us is going to have those moments where we get sloppy and we act stupid. We believe something that isn't properly justified, we don't believe something that is, we get emotional and we don't listen to reason, whatever. You can't make yourself 100% not stupid, but stupidity is something you can minimize with a little determination and practice. But to do that, Donnie, you're going to have to internalize the fact that you can and will be wrong at times, and you have to be willing to change or even outright abandon any opinion you hold when you receive valid criticism of your evidence or evidence to the contrary. This can be really uncomfortable at times, but it will help you be less wrong more often. In other words, Donnie, it takes a real commitment to learning the truth, even if that truth is emotionally unappealing or goes against something you've spent a long time believing, or if it's the exact opposite of everything you've ever hoped was true. But the unfortunate fact is that humans, being human, don't always hold the truth as being more valuable than their ego or their feelings. The overall message on my channel is just that it might do them well to try to more often, and if that requires me to give people like you some tough love treatment once in a while, well, so be it.
And the funny thing is he's admittedly an atheist. This is what we knew we were going to go up against. A guy that's 117,000 subscribers, 100,000 more subscribers than me, and feels like I'm a threat to him.
I do? Oh, and here I was thinking I just found you funny because you're amazed by dust specks and clouds. Thanks for the info, I guess.
He's not attacking Richie from Boston or Planetix News or even Jeff P. People that have way more subscribers.
I've never heard of any of those people. I might check them out now, though, thanks. What was that second one called, though? Planetix News?
Planetix News.
I'm not even joking. If you're not saying that, I don't know what you're saying.
He feels like he could win this battle because he picks on someone so small.
Battle? Is that how you see this? There's no battle, Donnie, and there's nothing to win. I'm just some guy here speaking my mind, same as you. I've done nothing to harm you, I've launched no attack on you, and this poor, oppressed little guy approach to deflecting criticism doesn't mean a lot coming from a channel the size of yours. If you had like 170 subs instead of 17,000, at least you'd sound a little bit less pathetic, but even then it's some weak baby shit, and a tacit admission of your inability to back up your ideas. It's the kind of thing people do to avoid arguments when they know they can't win them. If you disagree with what I said, argue back or ignore it. Either way, your life is just going to carry on as normal.
So what I encourage you guys to do is just go there, as many as you can, go to his page, here it is, Logicked. The very top video is about me. I want you to hit the report button. If enough of us do it, you report it, and just report it as hate speech, or whatever you deem it as.
Oh man. What was that you said before about censorship?
Censorship is censorship. We knew this was going to happen.
So you complained about me censoring you when I did nothing at all to censor you, and now you're explicitly trying to get your audience to censor me. Hate speech. Pfft. Are you kidding me, dude? Well, dickhead of Daytona, despite you trying to unilaterally start a false flag war with me, and despite me feeling that I would not be entirely unjustified to now ask my entire follower base to do the same thing to you, I refuse to descend to your level, which is neck deep in pig shit. Aside from the fact that false flag campaigns are garbage behavior that is just unacceptable on this or any other website, the more important reason is, I really just don't want to risk your channel ever going away. I've got way more entertainment out of you than from anyone I watch unironically. There's no way I'm gonna interfere with you making an ass out of yourself until the end of YouTube.
Report it as hate speech, or whatever you deem it as, because it's going against everything we're trying to do here.
So going against your agenda constitutes hate speech. Is that how you think it works? You sure about that? Cause then you going against my agenda right now is also hate speech, and you should be banned from YouTube, right? But I guess you don't want to apply it fairly. Lick my balls, Donnie.
Now, let me explain to you exactly where he's finding my faults.
Everywhere.
But I've already told you guys this is what I'm doing. In the background here, this is Jupiter.
Bullshit.
And one of its moons. This is how you would normally see it from any astrophotographer, okay?
Have you ever seen a photo of Jupiter? Even beginners can at least capture the stripes. It might not be the prettiest picture aside from that, but a lot better than yours.
Now, this is the same Jupiter image.
Looks like an out-of-focus star, or a pinhole in a black card. Really, any small point of light, it makes zero difference. When it's this out of focus, it doesn't really matter what it is.
What I did was I went to the furthest degree that my photo camera goes to.
So this one's not with your telescope? Yeah, I'm not tracking down more of your equipment.
And then in post-production, I had to lower the contrast a bit, and it took on a green image. I don't know why, but it did.
Exactly, Donnie. Exactly the problem. You don't know why. You don't know why this happened. You don't know why really anything happens because you haven't bothered to learn what your settings do, or why, or what the effect is of changing them. And that's why you get so unbelievably confused when you see simple things like this. You're intellectually lazy. You're letting yourself be stupid. You claim you accidentally caused this result in post-production by changing the contrast. I have my doubts, but I'll accept that for the sake of argument. So if something unexpected happened that changed the entire appearance of your image, the image you're using as evidence, for example by making it all green for reasons you don't understand, why didn't you just change it back? Why didn't you play with it a little bit to see exactly what was causing that change? If you decided you were happy with the green, fine, I guess, but you're using an image you screwed up in post in ways that you don't even know, and you're expecting us to take it seriously as evidence for your claims about the nature of the sky. Is this a joke?
I didn't change the color at all, just the image it took off.
Okay, well, the image still changed colors for a reason. A reason you should have been able to find out as easily as the reasons for any of the other weird things you see in the sky, meaning through your equipment. Easier, in fact, because you say you did this in post-production where you would have had easy access to all the settings you needed to change this as much as you pleased until you figured out exactly what was going on. When you come to me and you say, here's my evidence video, I screwed it up in post and I don't know what the hell I did, but take it anyway, you sound like a fucking moron. But if you did a couple simple experiments and learned how things work, all these mysteries would be solved and your stuff would be that much more compelling.
So what I did here, though, and why it looks so much bigger and you don't see the other one as moons, is
because it's out of focus.
Because I changed the focal point.
Which is the dumb brain way of saying you defocused it.
When I showed you in that one video where there's two trees, one of them was 500 meters away from me, one of them was over 1,000. I would slowly adjust the focal point so the one in 500 meters was in focus and the one in back was blurry. Then I changed the focal point and made this one clear and this one blurry, and I showed you that in a video.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff at one distance is in focus. Stuff at a different distance isn't. When you change the focal point, when you look at fake Jupiter, it's not in focus, which is why it's a worthless, dim, blurry circle, just like you'd see with an out-of-focus light down here on Earth, meaning that your images of it are worthless unless you consider green circles to be works of art worthy of hanging on your wall.
Now why, if a bright light as Jupiter or Venus shines its light down onto the firmament, you don't think that you could adjust the focus slightly to see that projection of light hitting the firmament or hitting water?
That's a really weirdly phrased question. If I had to guess, I'd say that what you're trying to ask is, can I use an unfocused bright object as a backlight for a transparent object in front of it? The same way that if I film through my window at night, I can see the dust and smudges on the window if I focus on the glass with an out-of-focus light outside as a backlight. And sure you can, but that's not seeing the projection of light, it's just using the light behind the transparent thing to see features of something that's close to you. This projection of light thing really makes no sense to me. And also, it's not a video of the bright thing, because the bright thing is just a blurry mess in the background of the in-focus thing you're actually taking a video of, which is the glass. Or in your case, these supposed waves of the watery firmament. If that's what you were trying to film, your video would not be a video of Jupiter, it would be a video of the watery firmament with Jupiter in the background. And that wouldn't even matter, because what the light actually is becomes totally irrelevant in this scenario because none of its details are visible because it's severely out of focus. And the only reason you bothered to include it anyway was just so you could see what's in front of it. And so it'd be really silly to present it like you did as a video of Jupiter or whatever, because it's not. At least not in any meaningful sense. And that's of course beside the fact that what you pointed your telescope at actually was not Jupiter.
Well, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, I know. It's dumb. Do something else.
Let me show you exactly what I just did last night. This is Jupiter, okay?
Is it? You sure? What time did you film it at? After 1 a.m. I hope, because Jupiter didn't rise until then on April 3rd. I noticed this time you're not showing or telling us what time this was taken at. Probably a wise choice if you want to avoid the most obvious criticism.
I adjust the focal point just slightly. It blurs the image of Jupiter, but it focuses on its projection of light hitting the waters above in the firmament.
Or in other words, when people tell you your videos of planets and stars are out of focus, they're 100% correct. So why do you whine about being told the truth that you admit yourself?
This is the way I classically film it, because I wanted to give my own interpretation of it. But you know, I've been talking back and forth with other people, YouTube creators, and they're getting crescent Venus as a crescent, like a half moon. So I'm wondering, why am I getting a whole version? Now I am zooming in 3 times further than they are. This is the furthest my telescope zooms, because, you know, I wanted to see really what it was about. And if I could zoom the furthest in, maybe it would tell me that story. So that's why I think that, you know, we see the actual Venus come by, but you see these little things passing by. I think that they're projections. Okay, so now I tried something different. I didn't zoom in as far, and here's Venus as a crescent. So I can get what other people are getting. It's all on how far you zoom in. I was talking to somebody who says, "Are you getting crescents?" And I said, "No, I'm getting a whole damn image, and then it looks like there's blood cells or something passing by it." My interpretation of that is I'm filming through the firmament, and all that stuff you see pass by it, as the star passes by it, it's shining its light through the firmament, through the waters above, whatever, and that's the stuff that's in the water or the firmament. So you're looking up and seeing this huge bright light in the sky, and it's not real. That's my point, because I can film it every way to where people can say, oh, it's a crescent or this or that. You're not the biggest thing people say is you're not focused. You're out of focus. How do you get fine lines if you're out of focus? Okay? I'm not even going to have to get too deep into that, because I don't even like to give that statement any energy, because I find it very ignorant to say that I'm not in focus. I'm in focus. Okay, because you can change the focal point to find these things. And of course, it will make the original light source go out of focus. If you're going to get on my channel and you're going to diss my photography or diss anything that I do, you better have something on your channel to back it up, or I'm just going to block you. Because if you're not someone that dabbles with cameras as a hobby, do not get on my channel and tell me I'm out of focus, because you're just pulling shit out of your ass. Excuse my language. Because you can change the focal point to find these things. And of course, it will make the original light source go out of focus.
Make up your mind. Either you're filming Jupiter and Venus deliberately out of focus and you're proud of it, or you're not actually trying to film Jupiter or Venus at all, but something in front of them that requires light to see, which could come from anything. It doesn't really matter. If I stand outside and shine a flashlight in through your window and you focus your camera on your window, would you say your camera's focused on the projection of light hitting the window, or just that it's focused on the window? I guess you'd say the former, even though I'm not actually projecting anything on your window, and the latter is clearly more correct. And then you'd show that picture to all your friends and tell them, look at this amazing picture I took of a flashlight. Of course, I'm only talking here about what you say you intend to do, not what you actually do, because the fact that atmospheric turbulence is visible doesn't mean that you're focusing on a layer of waves a specific distance above the ground.
I'm doing my intro starting off with what you think the normal picture of what Jupiter looks like. It wasn't this big. Of course, it's blown up. That's why it looks a little distorted.
So you think the normal picture of what Jupiter looks like is severely out of focus and someone's trying to focus on something entirely different? No, that's not how Jupiter normally looks in pictures, because when people try to take a picture of Jupiter, they focus on Jupiter. And if you knew, as you claim, that it was so out of focus because you deliberately took the photo that way, then why would you expect its stripes to show up at all? Why did you pretend you captured them when you knew that was impossible due to it being out of focus? Or did you know?
Because it was really small, like even getting the patterns, the lines to show up once I zoomed in on it, it was really small because it's far away. But anyway, that's kind of typically with the stripes, that's Jupiter, you remember.
You wanted the stripes to show up. You didn't understand why they wouldn't. You were also super confused why your friends were able to see Venus as a crescent while you were only seeing it as a circle with blood cells, i.e. dust, crossing it. So either you don't know that you're not going to see details properly when you're out of focus, meaning you don't know what focus means, or you didn't actually understand that you were out of focus at all. Again, meaning that you don't know what focus means. Either way, your comments about Venus and your confusion at why you weren't seeing it as a crescent, and your assertion that the out of focus version just looked that way because you were zoomed in so much further than your friends are, shows that you didn't actually understand what was going on in those images. You say now that you're deliberately taking it out of focus, that you're deliberately focusing on something in front of it. But thanks to what you've previously said about what you've been doing and what you've been trying to do, I don't believe you. I think you're just post hoc rationalizing your failure. It doesn't really matter. Either way, you're terrible at this. But you don't have to be. Take some time, learn about your equipment and the basic principles behind how it works, and you'll do a lot better.
He could not reproduce any of these images. He was trying to reproduce it by filming lights in his house and making a joke that he could do what I was doing by filming lamps in his house. Except for he didn't actually go out and film Jupiter or Venus and try to reproduce the images. He just made fun of what I was doing.
No, Donnie, I certainly didn't just make fun of what you were doing. I explained the general principles that were causing what you saw in the sky, and then showed you very clearly how they could be applied simply to show the same thing without looking at the sky. Meaning that they don't actually tell you much about what's in the sky, they tell you about your equipment and how you're using it. If you didn't understand the argument and how it applied to what you were doing, fine, but don't pretend there wasn't one. But if you insist insist, here's a video I took just for this video of some random star. It's not Jupiter and it's not Venus, it's just some random star that looked bright. As far as I can tell, that's what your Jupiter was, at least the one I originally debunked, because Jupiter set 5 hours before you filmed it. So we're probably looking at something very similar. It certainly won't look identical to your stuff, because I'm using a very different telescope, especially from what you used for your Jupiter, and a pretty different camera too, but it will be similar. I used a lot of digital zoom here like you did just to make it look worse. I might have slightly overdone it, and it didn't help that I definitely do not have the right camera for this, so mine doesn't show the diffraction patterns on the out of focus images quite as clearly as yours does. But oh well, they're visible, it's good. So here it is defocused, specifically inside focus or intrafocus. It looks kind of yellow-green thanks to my deliberately bad white balance, and it's showing amoebas like you saw because my scope is just packed full of dust. Kind of like your original fake Jupiter. It's got a somewhat different shape that looks more like your Venus, I'd say, but it's the same general idea. Here's the same thing showing some crazy color bands as the light diffracts around the dust and other garbage in my telescope. And here's our Jupiter-ish thing again. You can see it flickering from the atmospheric turbulence, what you think is the wavy surface of the firmament ocean. And as I approach focus, it changes from your Jupiter to your Sirius, showing more pronounced diffraction rings and color fringing. The shape of this is sometimes circular and sometimes more cat-eye shaped, but always fully bordered with diffraction fringing. The shape in this case isn't because of a lens imperfection like astigmatism, it's just because the way I hacked my setup together means my webcam doesn't get a perfect view down the eyepiece and the aperture except when the star's in a pretty specific part of my field of view, and because the star is constantly moving, it's pretty hard to keep it there. I'd love to have a proper camera for this purpose, but I don't, so oh well. As I get even closer to focus, it turns into your not that zoomed in Venus, the one you said was a crescent even though it showed no sign of being one, with the purple fringing. And you'll notice how at this point the flicker is a lot less noticeable as the light is a lot more intense in a smaller area, but it is still flickering if you watch. And as I turn the knob even more, it crosses best focus and switches from intrafocus to extra focus and looks totally different as I keep defocusing it more and more in this direction. Now its shape looks a lot more like your current Jupiter. And as I continue, it starts to look a bit more like your more zoomed in Venus, which may explain the more purplish look of your Venus as opposed to your Jupiter. I'm not 100% on that, but it could be. I would hope you'd test it to check, but I assume you won't. And I didn't intend to do this one, but I kind of happened across it by accident. Here's something very like your holographic vector field Venus, which is really just the moon with the exposure way too high and totally out of focus. And no, I'm not saying your Venus was the moon, it probably was a star. I'll compile together all the videos I did with my telescope and put them up on a side channel in case anyone wants to see a lot more terrible telescope usage. So yes, Donnie, I can reproduce these images just by screwing up my settings the way I said you screwed them up. But there's something I bet you can't do. I bet you can't take a decent photo of Jupiter showing the stripes. Prove me wrong, I would love it if you did. Anyway, apparently you didn't understand that the reason I chose not to do this for my original response is because it would have been a complete waste of my and everyone else's time, just like it is now. Because if I showed you that these weird effects can be seen when you point your telescope at the sky, I'm just telling you something you already know. Your videos already demonstrate that that's possible. The entire point of my video was that the exact same things can happen without even looking at the sky, showing beyond a shadow of a doubt that what you see is actually caused by your equipment and how you use it, and that it tells you nothing of value about the sky that it doesn't also tell you about a pinhole in a black card. That was the reason I deliberately avoided using videos of things in the sky. They certainly wouldn't have hurt my argument, but what new information would they have provided? What purpose would they have served but to pad out the runtime? And I think the runtime was long enough. Somehow you missed that point despite it being the central point of the video. Donnie, do you remember what I said about stupidity being a lack of certain critical thought processes, like noticing when it's appropriate to generalize a principle? Well, I understand that you're afflicted with that condition right now, and I'm real sorry about that, but try to push through and grasp why the fact that I could reproduce exactly what you saw in the sky without looking at the sky even once, solely because I knew the right-wrong way to configure a camera and a telescope, means that now it's up to you to demonstrate that your terrible images tell us more about the world than just that you're an incompetent photographer. But so far, in this video, all you've done is reinforce my original opinion. Anyway, I'm gonna have to call that part 1. I really wanted to avoid splitting videos too much this year, but when Donnie said I only upload like once every 4 weeks, it kinda got to me. Not because of him, but just because it reminded me of how slow my upload schedules become as a result of making such huge, labor-intensive videos. I mean, I'm really proud of my response to him, but that video was so long that the first 2 parts could have made 4 full videos on their own. And then add in the absolutely insane amount of research required to get myself up to speed, and I was slowed down so badly that here it is 2 months after I started that, and I'm still behind. That is not sustainable for me. And honestly, I see so many of my peers who are making great videos, but they're more like in the 10-minute range, and they put out so much more content than I do, which helps a lot in the algorithm. And meanwhile, I'm over here making pretty high production effort videos that are 20 minutes minimum usually, and lately a lot longer than that, which does nothing but make me lose momentum and fall behind. And worse, it makes my viewers feel like they really rarely get a video. I'm pretty happy with videos around 20 minutes, maybe even up to 30 minutes, but beyond that, I don't think it works for most of you. You get fewer videos. It definitely doesn't work for me. I fall behind, I'm less agile, I lose ground in the algorithm, really there's no benefit. So I've tried the strategy of splitting my videos a lot less. Doesn't seem to be working out. I think I need to go back to the way I did it before. Anyway, thank you for watching part 1, and I really hope you'll come back for part 2 when Donnie continues trying to get his audience to false flag my video down while feebly trying to counter argue. It'll be a good time, come on back.